All right.
Got it.
Awesome. Well, welcome to today's episode of Nerds and Friends. We have author Eva Creel here joining us, and my co-host Carey DuVal. Very happy to have you both on here. Thank you so much for your time.
Hello, Josh.
Hello, Josh. Hello, Carey. It's so nice to meet you. So am I a nerd or a friend?
You can be either or both. Totally up to you.
Not exclusive.
Not exclusive.
Either one of them.
Time will tell.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So I guess for our first topic today, tell us about the Immortal. I love the concept that I've read. Very excited to hear more about it.
I wrote a book. It was by accident. I didn't mean to do it. It wasn't planned. Apparently, I'm something called a pantser.
Nice.
Pantser.
A
tell me.
seat of the pantser instead of a plotter. So I tripped over the whole idea of writing last year. It started with a bad dream, and I was in the middle of a scene of a mass murder, and I took refuge in a library, and there was only one book. It was the same book written in every language. And there was a man sitting there who was not worried about the mass murder happening, so I knew he was in on it. And then when I woke up, there was stabbing in the necks and jumping out of windows. It was a very exciting dream. And I thought, wow, I should write this down. So I did. And there's immortal Vikings, and they're like in golf carts because it's modern day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And
man.
There's just, chaos and action and adventure, and it's not boring.
Sounds anything but.
It doesn't sound like that. It sounds like you were visited by the ghost of Neil Gaiman.
Yes. Yes. I would listen to his masterclass commercial because I'm cheap and I never bought it, but I'd listen to the commercial over and over and over again. And he would be like, there are no rules. And I'm like, yes, there are no rules.
He's got the best line to lead that off to. And it's also in the class because I took the whole thing where he's like, the purpose of writing your second draft is to make it look like you knew what you were doing while writing your first draft.
Yes.
And oh man, the whole class is like that, by the way. Like the rest of master class, like I've taken a couple classes, but that one is like the best, the absolute best.
There is not, yes. I mean, even just listening to that every day, driving through the fog, writing is like driving through the fog. And I'm like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm going to have to give Neil his due, and as soon as I get some royalties, take the class for real. Not just listen to the commercial on repeat.
Oh, it's amazing.
I've got to take it too. Yeah.
I think they had a special deal, buy one, give one.
Yeah, and Carey gave one to me, and I did more producing classes instead of writing for my other job in the TV world. So I did what's his name? I'm drawing a blank now. Judd Apatow's producing class was really good. So thank you for that, Carey. Yeah.
I'd love to take a screenwriting class because this I've had many people say, I know that's so corny to say, but make it into a movie. No, like really make it into a movie because this is freaking fun.
No, it sounds like it. Can I ask? So the dream was the impetus, and now I know that there are Vikings and golf carts. Which, by the way, in my head, cast Vin Diesel and make the Fast and the Furious with Vikings and golf carts. But now I want to know what's the story? I'm really curious.
All right, I think Bill Nye, not the science guy, but the English actor, would make a really good character in it as well. Because my Vikings. Right. They do age, and they require human hearts to become young again. And they become young to the part when they first became immortal. So they're able to blend in, and they're able to become their sons, so to speak. And I thought, realistically, who would these people have been? So if Ivar the Boneless was immortal, because in legend and in history, he's been called immortal. So what if he really was? Who would he be in history? And so I started looking at other historical figures and started finding similarities and pictures and comparing them. And I really kind of went down a rabbit hole and started absolutely believing the bullshit I was writing down. Sorry, please.
That's
Awesome.
And I'm like,
amazing.
there are immortals out there, and these people existed before. They're still out there.
That's fantastic.
That's such an interesting premise. So is this like kind of an anthology where it follows them over time, or are we meeting them in like
Not yet, but
specifically
it
modern
could.
times?
I mean, this thing could branch off in so many directions. It's nuts. So when we are there, it's modern time, and it starts off with a protagonist, Emma. She turns 40. She's overworked, underappreciated. She doesn't have a family because she's a workaholic, and she decides to take all of her vacation time and go to a French Polynesian island. She knows she has to go far, because if she doesn't go far, she's going to get called back into work, because we know how that happens. And she ends up on this island, on this resort, and unbeknownst to her, she's part of the dinner menu. That's when the mass murder happens. And everyone who's part of this resort is part of a mass murder. So you think of like the airplanes that disappear and nobody knows what happens to them. You think about the ships and nobody knows what happens to them. That's an event that the Vikings do every, 50 years or so to reclaim their youth. And these people just disappear. And she survives it.
That's awesome.
Or does she?
Okay. I have to agree with your friends. Please take a screenwriting class, because
learn how to screenwrite.
that is exactly the movie I would love to watch. That's such a fun, like, tongue-in-cheek kind of concept. But also, like, it's a fun concept on immortality, because you can really dig into like these guys being mistaken for vampires, and
and
like,
it's not vampires. We didn't
history.
go vampires.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just like because I could see like Eric the Red having shaved off the red, like laughing about that. Like they think it was Vlad. They think that Vlad is killing all these people, and
Vlad
just
is in
like,
here.
yes, excellent.
He's in here. Oh, there's a hell of a fight scene. It's so much fun. Pow, pow, poo, almost drowning like crazy. Am I dying? I had to look up like what it felt like to inhale, salt water and stuff.
Ooh,
that's some good dark research.
Yeah, apparently it feels like hot lava. So
interesting.
I'll bet. Luckily I haven't drowned. I have nearly bled out. And that was an experience, but it was very peaceful. So
yeah, I have too. You tell me yours. Go.
Okay, cool. Well, I got blown up in Afghanistan, and basically it was a vehicle-borne IED attack. I would be liquid if I hadn't been in an armored vehicle with my guys, and the vehicle blew up, rolled over a couple times, and I ended up basically the door came off, and I ended up at the bottom of the cab of the vehicle on its side. So rollover accident. And basically most of the bones in my right side were broken. Had a big old gash in my thigh, and my hand was basically gone. And I was bleeding out, but I went into shock very quickly. Yeah. And so when you go into shock, you don't feel the injuries. And I know a couple of other amputees. I actually know a fellow hand amputee who he got blown up and he didn't go into shock. And he talks about it being one of the most excruciating pains of his life. But basically, when it comes as far as like the bleeding out goes, like I know I've seen like the kind of the walls closing in and everything, and I've also gotten I think I had half my blood replaced. Like I got 11 or 13 units of blood, but it was just like basically it was like half my blood. So yeah. That's me. What about you?
Okay, so childbirth apparently is like the most dangerous thing a woman can do.
Holy shit.
So yeah, I gave the second time around, I gave birth and I threw a clot into my lung. I hemorrhaged at the same time. So I'm a bleeder, redheads, and I'm a clotter. So double whammy.
And you wouldn't have felt it because you're redheaded. Like that's that high pain tolerance threshold.
They say, some people say that we're more wusses, and some people say that we're more like that we're more sensitive. Some people say we're less sensitive. It depends. I think to temperature we're more sensitive, but to electrical we're less sensitive, because I can get shocked and it doesn't bother me. But my husband's like, oh, he's really sensitive to it. Yeah, so electrical. Yeah. And so I was there looking at the kid, and the kid was getting further and further away, and I'm like, something's not right. And then I couldn't breathe, and then I went blind, and they're like, you're blind, you can't see. I'm like, yeah, I can't see. And then it just kind of felt like I was just gonna go to sleep and be done. It was just no pain, nothing, just really super, super weak. And it took ages for that blood to come back, man, like 8 months or something like that. It took forever.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't, put a button together. I mean, I had no idea how weak I would be for such a long time afterwards.
Oh yeah, when
I'm
I
just
got
sitting over here, so glad you both are okay.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I know. Like
My
Afghanistan,
goodness.
that's so scary. My husband was deployed 4 times, and he's got some hearing loss, but that's like the worst of it. So
yeah,
cool.
I mean, yeah, that's what a lot of the guys in my vehicle walked away with. Like I felt good that I felt better that I was the one that was the most hurt. Like my guys
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it's a weird feeling, but like, yeah, like when it's like, I can assume with like you, it's like, I like it. It was your baby okay then? And
Yeah, my baby was fine. He was
okay,
fine.
perfect. All right.
So the kids were fine. I was just, and then kind of like they were giving me the blood, or they were doing something, and that's when I had shock multiple times. Like I would go in and out of it all the time. And I remember screaming at people to make it stop. And they were like, are you in pain? And I was thinking to myself, I'm not, but I'm having a complete, I understand what a panic attack is now. A panic attack means you think you're dying, not like you're stressed, but you literally think you're dying. So it's a little different. But yeah, I'm so glad you can talk about it so openly that you're like, oh yeah, Afghanistan, I got blown up. Drugs. I mean,
yeah. Lots of therapy and
okay, good.
and honestly, like I personally got lucky enough that my platoon was there, and I actually kind of I didn't turn it into a bit on purpose. I've just got this natural tone where I always sound sarcastic. So I found out that when I was telling military people, especially vets, and I was giving them the rundown of like me getting blown up, and because I was in shock, like I'd recognize the injuries as I saw them. I could tell it like a bit, like a comedy story, and I could just have people laughing their asses off. And I think the cool thing about that was it really helped me process that, because I've got a dark sense of humor to begin with, but being able to say like, well, like I woke up and my head was in the dirt, and I looked at my hand and it looked like I'd been holding onto a grenade. My first thought was, well, that's fucked up. So what else we got? And then I moved my arm, and turned out my whole arm was on the ground. I went, well, that's fucked up too. And just keep running through that. And especially guys that have like been through that like dissociation, not even guys that have just been to Afghanistan. I know EMTs and firefighters who are like, oh yeah, and this is when I found out that the building was on fire around me, or something like that. I really appreciate that like dark humor helps all of us like that. And I think there's more than one of us that are like horror comedy nerds because of it. So
yeah, I can't help but think that some of my darkness was definitely related to my writing as well, because it's a dark book.
Sounds
I believe it.
I can't wait to read it.
Okay, good. I'm sorry that, I mean, it is a female perspective, and some
Awesome.
guys. Okay, all right.
No, I like to expand my viewpoints, All
right.
No, that's awesome. In my new book that I'm writing, I write some chapters from the point of view of female characters, and that's been really interesting for me to delve into and try to get into the psychology and everything. So it's been very fun.
Yes, let's read it and be judgy.
Please do. Yes, I love feedback. Yeah. Actually,
Oh,
one of the
good.
characters Carey came up with in a D&D game, and I've been writing from her perspective. So she's a halfling who's super into fighting and strength and everything, and it's awesome. So
Oh, wonderful.
yeah, been very fun to write. So thank you for that, Carey.
Yeah, but I do what I can. I really like the idea of character development just in general. Like character is always something that really fascinates me, and getting into the head of a character that is not you, that is not like your experience. I so Eva, what's as far as your main character goes,
Emma.
not to Emma. Oh, sorry. Emma's your main character?
No, my name's Eva. Her name's Emma. I thought maybe you were trying to remember her name.
No, my brain did skip a beat there. But so Emma, your main character, how much of like her and her reactions was drawn from you and your experiences? How much was like a touchstone? Like where did Emma
Where
come
does
out?
Eva start and Emma end, or where does Eva end and where does Emma start? So there's a few things in there that are relatable, but it's not just me. I think it's as a general thing. You know, I'm almost 40, she's 40. So this is probably my midlife crisis. And I gotta say, no one told me it was going to be fun. And I'm having so much fun with it. I'm like, I don't have 40 and I'm a writer now.
Crisis, opportunity, just
Yeah, so we're about the same age. She has a different history life-wise, though. The only things that I wrote in there that were very personal to me was I did go into a little bit of the PTSD, you know, from having a near-death experience, because she has a near-death experience as well, but hers is drowning. And I never had that experience, but my neighbor actually, he almost drowned this summer, and he came over and told me about it, and that was then included in it, into the story, into the character. But
oh wow.
all of the characters are part of me because they came from my brain, right? So even like the male characters. But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of pieces from for 40 years I've been a sponge and I've been soaking it up, and then I just kind of took the sponge and angrily squeezed it out, and the story came from the juice and bacteria.
That's an awesome metaphor for writing. I love that.
That's all.
That's great. I mean, that's Josh and I were talking earlier a little bit about how his character was based off of his experiences too, and I'm really fascinated with the parallels here of creating a new and original story based off of things that you have experienced, and then just kind of amalgamating the things that you haven't to, you know, tell something important.
It's the human experience, isn't it? I don't think we're all that different. We like to think we're unique, but we're very people.
Yeah, you're right. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
I mean, except for you, you're very special, Josh.
Oh, thank you. It's all my Lord of the Rings t-shirts. That's the
Yeah.
Yes, very good.
Yeah, no, I found in my first book that my main character was very much had a lot of me in him. And then for my second book, my main characters, I went for either based on people I knew or just very different, you know, creations altogether. And that's been a fun, different challenge as well, you know.
Yeah, my characters are kind of like a reality TV show that I yell at.
Oh, nice.
That's
I
perfect.
I judge what they do, and I think, oh, you know,
just
drinking my
getting to put these aspects of your brain onto paper and like force them to like you can just basically chastise the dumb parts of your brain. That's what I do a lot, where it's just like yes, this is a dumb decision and now you will suffer it because I'm writing the story now. And it's such a yeah, fascinating way of doing things.
It's fun, isn't it? It's fun. It's fun to be a little mini god and have your characters play along to whatever you deem worthy for them.
Play along and talk back. Like I very much appreciate authors who talk about how like they'll start to write a scene, and there will be something in their brains like, no, this isn't quite how this character would respond, or like maybe there's something where this is the situation where this entity does something out of character. And I think that's it's real interesting to hear people talk about that. Again, like Neil Gaiman talks a little bit about that in his masterclass, where he's like, yeah, there's this you get this wonderful self-imposed kind of synesthesia from writing. And I just think that's such an interesting way of looking at different characters and looking at their reactions to things.
Yeah, you think you know your character because you're writing it, and then they go and do something completely unexpected. Yeah, absolutely. They evolve into their own beings. It's amazing that our little 3 pounds of mush can come up with something like that. It's wonderful. My 3 pounds of mush are getting distracted though. You have spears on your wall.
Oh yeah, I have two actually. The one up above the window is one that I found in the garage of a house I was renting. It's hand hammered. Somebody made that. And the one over here in the corner a little bit is I bought it because I wanted to make a prosthetic hand out of the blade. And while the prosthetic hand didn't work out, I then had a spear, and then I have 2 spears. So
that's cool.
And these just seemed like things to put on my walls because I get to feel like I'm a strange anthropology professor in my own apartment. So that's
I
that's where
actually have a spear from Kenya that was brought to me by a friend when she visited. Yes, and it has like wild boar hair sticking out of the little thing that keeps the blade from cutting you, but it's really dull. But yes, it's very exciting.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
That is very cool.
That was before September 11th. She carried that on the plane.
That's brilliant.
To me.
Terrorists, what are those? Oh, please bring that large.
It's just a spear. It's fine.
Oh,
oh, okay. I got it at the Tuesday market in Kenya. That's from my friend.
So Eva, I've got a fun question for you. If your main character Emma went on a road trip with the main character of the last book you read or TV show you watched, how would that play out? Did we lose it?
So my husband got me Wheel of Time for Christmas. No, I'm still there. Yeah, the road trip. Can you hear me still? Oh, it says internet connection is unstable.
We lost you for a second, but we can hear you now.
Am I back?
You're back.
Yeah, well, that's Georgia internet for you. It's it just strolls around. You know, you get lucky if it's a full day of Wi-Fi. Okay, so if Emma went on a road trip with the last thing, I'm about to go watch the original Star Wars, not the butchered, manipulated nonsense, the one that says Star Wars, not A New Hope or anything like none of that lens flare crud. But that doesn't count. My husband bought me Wheel of Time for Christmas. I'm still on chapter 1 though. So Emma would go on a road trip with the Wheel of Time people. That's actually quite appropriate.
Yeah.
And actually, though, if Emma was going on a road trip, she'd probably go to Colorado.
Nice.
And she'd visit some of the Vikings there that are now growing pot.
I love it.
And then she'd probably head up back over to somewhere warmer. I don't know. What would Emma do on a road trip? We got to plot it out. Get a map. Get the map. Where's the Wheel of Time map?
So she would plan it. Yeah. She wouldn't be a pantser on her trip. She would plot it out.
She would plan. She is a meticulous planner. That woman's got plans about plans about plans. Yeah, you don't have to worry about anything with her except for, what she's got planned for you.
Yeah. What is her job that she does that she's so time consuming with? I'm curious.
All right, so she works at a hospital and she does ultrasounds.
Oh,
She's an
okay.
ultrasound tech.
Hmm.
And that specific skill set actually comes into the story. I'm going to give you all the spoilers. She cures their immortality. She's able to find out that, yeah. So long ago, they hunted like the Loch Ness monster, and the heart of the Loch Ness monster, it's called a water horse, Nikeir. It's an old, it's in all in the Viking legends. They hunted one, they took the heart, and the heart made them immortal. But they kept aging, so they have to take hearts to regenerate. Oh, there's my husband. Hey, he's wearing a Deadpool t-shirt. Can he join the nerd? He can join their nerd crew.
He can absolutely
join.
join.
Say hi.
Nerds.
Perfect.
We're talking about. I show off your jammies.
Deadpool. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Good cameo.
There you go. Anyway, I don't know what I was talking about. Oh yeah, and so she finds out that the heart is actually still in their stomachs, and so by doing an ultrasound, yeah, she's able to remove it, and the immortality wears off, and so they can actually have their last life, which to them is great because they want to go to Valhalla. They feel like they've become the giants they wanted to destroy. For a Viking to be an immortal is not, it doesn't go with their sense of heritage and their religious beliefs. So they want to be cured.
Oh, I didn't see that coming. That's a great twist. That's
now
awesome.
I've told you everything. Now you just have to watch the movie.
That's cool. That's cool. I guess technically now I'm a producer. I'm learning how to do that. So I'd love to collaborate with you in the future on making the movie. That'd be great.
All right, cool. But yeah, I mean, I live in Yollywood, so they call it Yollywood because it's Georgia.
Yeah. No,
Oh
a ton
yeah.
of stuff films in Georgia. That's
down there in Hot Atlanta, right?
Hot Atlanta. That's right.
I mean, honestly, like considering the mountains and hills right around there, you could probably fake Scotland easy. So
yeah, Scotland mountains aren't really that high. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, that's cool as hell. Excuse you, dog.
Awesome. Let me look. I got one more question.
Show us your dog. You can't just say dog and then not show us your dog.
Havoc, come here. Havoc.
Hi, doggy.
It's Havoc.
Hi, puppy. Is your name Havoc?
Yeah, this is Havoc. Hey, bud.
Good boy.
Good one.
You don't look like a Havoc. Oh, you look so sweet.
He used to be when he was a pup.
Oh yeah.
He's been surly all day because he had to get a bath. So
he had to get a bath.
Poor thing. Well, thank you for showing us.
No problem. No, he's a good dog. He just likes to join in the conversation.
Your views are going to go up now because there's an animal.
Absolutely. Put dogs in the tags. It'll be great.
Hashtag cute dogs.
Hashtag cute dogs. Well, I was going to ask what non-writing jobs in your past have helped you the most as a writer?
All right. So vocationally, I'm a photographer.
Nice.
And so I've been a storyteller, but a lazy one, not one that writes thousands of words, but one that sets up the lights and tells a story of a family dynamic or, generational photos or just crazy stuff. Because I've taken a lot of pictures for book covers. I freelance for an agency, Archangel Images. And so I have a whole bookshelf full of books with my art on it, but not that I didn't, write any of them. So I guess this was just an evolution of, well, I got to write my own and do my own cover. A friend, I did the blood ring. I took, food coloring. It was beet juice from beets. And I put it on a white chair and just dropped it on a wine glass to make the circle.
That's awesome.
Now you know.
Excellent.
Now we've seen behind the curtain all the secrets.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Tricks of the trade, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And writing wise, I'm just so glad that there's Grammarly and professional editors because I don't have any higher education in language arts in any way. And so, thank goodness that we can get help for those things because that would be a real struggle for me as well, because I'm actually dyslexic. And
Mhm.
so writing words and reading out loud specifically is it's very difficult too. But
Mhm.
I think I kind of limited myself by saying, oh, I'm dyslexic, I could never write. Because then I went to the Google and asked the professor, and he said, well, actually, Agatha Christie is dyslexic and she sold 4 billion books. So,
Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
yeah, me for limiting myself, for thinking I can't do
Mhm.
something.
Well, it's really cool that you found that way of expressing some inner creativity through that as well. And the fact
Yeah.
that between just like spell check, which saves my ass on a constant basis, and Grammarly, and being able to actually send something over to an editor, like that whole that teamwork aspect and is amazing the whole way down.
Right. And making mistakes is such a valuable lesson. I mean, I now know
Agreed.
what a comma is for.
I overuse commas. I'm still working on that. Still working on it.
Mhm.
All the time, because Grammarly tells you to, so you just listen.
Yep. Curse the teacher that told me that a comma is whenever you pause during a sentence, because I pause when I'm thinking and talking. So I
Right.
end up
Comma,
writing
comma,
a lot of comma.
Uh-oh.
I've stopped writing comma. It's not the end of a sentence yet. Period. Up. Already put a comma there. Yep. You know what? Between that and the
Comma,
run-on
comma,
sentence,
chameleon.
absolutely all day.
Yeah, but with the whole COVID thing, my photography really slowed down a lot, and so I think also opened the venue for me to have more time to work on a different creative project, because if I had clients all the time, I would not be able to write 1,000 words a day.
Yeah. I'm amazed that you
So
can do it with raising 3 kids. That's a challenge. You said you have 3, right?
I have 2 children and 1 adult.
And
So
1 adult.
basically,
Mhm.
you
The
saw what he's
Fellowship
wearing
of the
for his
Ring, right?
pajamas.
That's your Fellowship of the Ring.
But if you want to get anything done, give it to a mom
True.
and
Mhm.
get it done. And I make it a rule. I don't make it a goal to write. I make it a rule. This will happen. It is, I will feed the children, I will brush my teeth, and I will write. And it is the rule.
Mhm.
And that is how I got it done.
That's
And
awesome.
then I had to take a break because I got a migraine and I started getting motion sickness because I was looking at the screen too long and like up and down and trying to self-edit, and things just started getting,
Yeah.
it's definitely need to
You
take
gotta
that break
step away. You gotta watch for that burnout.
Right. Right. I've burnt out so many times in photography, right? I haven't done it in writing yet, so we'll see.
Mhm.
That's good. So do you have plans for another book?
So the thing about the Immortal is that it really is like a tree. It has roots. I can go back and tell all of these Viking stories for the last 20 generations.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Yes. And I can go forward and I can go sideways. And I've already started doing a little bit of that. And I didn't even do it on purpose. And it just started happening. I started writing about a little girl named Lily. She's born in a different realm. And the Vikings believe in 9 realms. So there's 9 realms that I can go and have adventures in.
There you go.
Mhm.
And she's born in a different realm. She's a Dubin, which looks like a human, but they always give birth to twins.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yes, but Lily was born as a single child, which means she's born with a shadow. And since Dubins are magical, they usually share their magic with their sibling, but someone who's born with a shadow, shadows don't share. And
Mhm.
so they generally kill them at birth. And they try to kill her, but it doesn't work.
ooh.
So there's a lot of
I'm
really like
invested
horrible
already. This is
violence.
great.
Yeah, and I invented some creatures. There's a Roldark, which is basically like a gorilla with tusks and armadillo armor.
Whoa.
Mhm.
Yes, and their babies sound very much like a human baby, and something happens, and there's lots of death. But yes, it's a lot of fun. But then one of my characters, who actually ends up leaving Earth, and you don't know what happens to the character, he ends up in this story. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is a way to continue to say what happened to him, because
That's
there is a
awesome.
big question mark. And now people can read Lily and see what happened to him. It's on Kindle Vella. You
Oh,
can see
awesome.
what happens. Yes. And then I just finished Lily, and now I started another story, and I realized, well, Lily, when I finished it, she's only like 2, and now she's back spoiler alert, she's back on our realm.
Midgard.
She had, she's back on Midgard. And so she's going to come back as a teenager in my next story and see what kind of power she's developed and what her whole like ranges and stuff like that. So yeah,
This
so
is such
these
a
all
cool
these characters,
literary world you're creating. I love it.
yeah, they're kind of meshing together. I guess it's kind of like Marvel characters, right? They all kind of end up seeing each other. Thor will fight Hulk eventually. We all know it's gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing. These characters are all still part of the same tree.
That's so cool.
Yeah, especially when
Tree
you're
of life,
comfortable.
right?
Yeah, especially when you're comfortable jumping between realms like that. That's a hell of a way to just like make a whole bunch of parallel stories. I mean, even if you only had a couple of short ones, you could make a really interesting anthology all tied together of just a bunch of side characters that you really enjoyed.
And the thing is, I don't have to start from scratch because this information is in legends. It's in mythology. I can just bend it to make it fit me better.
That's awesome.
But still be true to it.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Make for a hell of a story.
Well, you guys can write some too. Our characters need, I'm sure.
Well, Eva, this has been an awesome interview. Thank you so much for your time and telling us all about your book. We'd love to have you on the podcast again in the future, doing like an author's roundtable or something, because this has been a really fun conversation.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to go eat now. Are you guys?
Sounds like a plan.
It's too early for you. You're like, food is always food. Yes, food is always food.
Well, thank you so much. I'll go ahead and end the recording, but you've been an awesome guest. Thank you for being on Nerds and Friends.
Thank you, Eva.
Thank you very much, Josh.